I'm a big musicals guy, and in Moulin Rouge, there's this part in the very beginning in the opening riff where the guy says, "Because we chant, 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 chant," and that's what the Nuggets did. They chant, 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 chant. This is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Welcome to the show. Thanks for making this your first listen each and every day. We are free and available on all platforms. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. His name is Adam Mares. He's director of content at DNVR. And Adam, they pulled it off after getting trounced on Friday night to the point where I didn't have the juice to do a Saturday night show because I was like, I don't know what to say. They got their behinds kicked because they don't have.
There was nothing to say. Nobody needed that show.
And they come back on Sunday, and without Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, and a guy named Nikola Jokic, the Denver Nuggets get it done. We'll talk about Vlatko Cancar and the very pivotal post-halftime second quarter buzzer beater. We'll talk about Bones Hyland with a career-high night. We'll give a lot of props to a lot of guys who stepped up. The Nuggets are not necessarily, I think, built for the regular season to be a gritty team, Adam, and this was a gritty as hell win.
Man, I'm surprised you say that. Why? I think they have gritty guys. They played tonight.
I guess just from the perspective of so much of their style is built on offense and ball movement, and we've talked about this, about the physicality stuff, and so we kind of have talked about this, about the differences between a physical team and a mentally tough team. And this was a really mentally tough win for them to get without their best players, for them to just basically wear down the Mavericks and find a way to get enough buckets to go down. Because it wasn't necessarily like a high efficiency game from either team. The Nuggets came out on top because they put in that kind of a performance.
It really was. I thought leading the charge was Bruce Brown to me. I mean, he's the guy that sort of embodies we're just going to keep punching and just play hard and see what happens. Maybe good things will happen. And I thought he had a very good game tonight. He didn't shoot. Again, nobody really had a good offensive game tonight. Even Bones, who had a career high, it was a struggle to get there. And there were moments that were like kind of ugly getting there. But to your point, the team needed to defend to give themselves a chance. They needed a little bit of shot luck from Dallas. Dallas was off outside of, Davis Bertans and Josh Green. Everybody else was really cold today. So you needed those things to happen, but you create your luck when you play as hard as they did, and just kind of played as tough and played with a sense that they actually believe they could win this one. And sure enough, they went out and got it.
If you told me that the Nuggets were without their three best players, I would have said that three of their four best players. I would say that their odds of winning any single game probably dropped to about 25% versus a randomized NBA opponent. If you take out Jeff Green from that equation, which he went down with an injury,
right,
that drops it down like another 5 percentage points just based off of the lack of everyone having to play out of position. If you tell me on top of that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope goes 2 of 11 from the field and Michael Porter Jr. hits 1 3-pointer, we're talking 10%, and they found a way to get it done.
Honestly, if you gave me all of those variables, it's lower than 10%, man. Those are a lot of variables. Some crazy things had to happen.
It's true. It's compounding. So the big picture takeaway I have is the reason I think this game matters, on top of it splits your division series, your head-to-head tiebreaker series. It basically replaces the Knicks game. So we went into the after when Yoke was out, we were like, well, they can win the Knicks game. We'll see if they can. They probably lose both the Mavericks games, and we'll see what happens with Detroit. And so for them to get this win, it basically negates the pain of that Knicks win. Now, you can say like they're not like it's positive, but that's fine. You just want to get out even. And so it's like it takes away the bad loss versus the Knicks and replaces it with a good. You took a high win percentage when you were up late versus the Knicks, and you took a low percentage chance of winning this game, period, and you flipped them. And that, to me, helps in the long term. If we look at the overall tapestry of the season, you want to talk about like why this game matters. Like the standings, I'm telling you, I do this every single year. I cover it intensely, more than I should. Readily admit I cover it more than I should. One game can literally be the difference in home court or not, in the 2 seed or the 5, in the 1 seed or the 3. These games can be the deciding factor. And tonight, the Nuggets found a way to get it done.
Matt, they literally flipped the standings. I mean, Denver is now 10-6, Dallas 9-7. So this game would have just been each team in the opposite spot there. And I know it's early, like everybody's kind of bunched up, but right at this very moment is the difference between the 3rd best record in the West and the 9th best record in the West. So it was a really big one just from that, just from a standings perspective. And I agree with you. This does kind of flip the Knicks game. It's actually a little bit better that it happens against Dallas for that specific reason. So it is an important one. And it was more than anything an impressive one, because I do think in years past, Denver was shorthanded tonight, but even shorthanded, they have talented players. Like Bruce Brown's a talented player. You know, Bones Hyland's a talented player. Michael Porter's a talented player. And tonight, I think in years past, I don't think there was another year where you could have taken out 3 of the top 4 guys and they just would have had enough talent left over after that to get it done. And tonight they did. And then I do have to give a little, you kind of joked about the Vlatko Cancar thing.
No, I wanted to save it for the second segment. That's how big of a deal it is.
Okay. All right. I just didn't want to like brush it off as a novelty because the shot was big, but I thought he was big in general. And I kind of wanted to talk about him. But we can go to DeAndre Jordan here because 17 rebounds. I was hard on him because rebounding, I've said this, is his number one job. It's his number one job. Like I know it's rim protection, but rebounding is the foundation. Rim protection is the thing that comes on top of that. And then whatever else he provides are things that are like benefits. Like, hey, you got, some dunks out of him tonight, or you got whatever, some good screens out of him. But it's rebounding number one. And tonight, I mean, this was a vintage DeAndre Jordan, 17 rebounds, 15 defensive rebounds again. Like, I don't even care about the offensive ones. He's there to limit the other team to one shot. Grabbing 15 tonight and playing 34 minutes was absolutely crucial. You could easily say he was the player of the game.
I actually care more about being defensive rebounds because of that reason. Like, I don't, if he had 17, but he had 8 offensive, I would be less impressed because I'd be like, okay, but I get it. But like, how many of those were like, you put it up and got it back and put it up? Like, guys get those.
Yeah.
And so 17, like just ending the possession and being a physical force versus a team that doesn't want to play big. Like, they don't want to play big. That's why JaVale McGee has been removed from the rotation as much as he has been. Like, JaVale played 10 minutes tonight. And so like they want to play small, and having a counter to that, I think, is really big. And I thought DJ was great. We'll talk about Vlatko after the break. The first person to come over to Vlatko when he hit that 3-pointer was DeAndre Jordan. He was so excited for him. Like
he played with energy. I mean, here's the thing about DeAndre. I don't think he always, and it's the same with Jeff Green. It's probably a veteran thing. They don't always play with a ton of energy. And I think that's understandable. Like, their role is to not make mistakes first and foremost, and then, buy you some minutes. Tonight, more was needed from them. Jeff got hurt. I thought he was playing great in the few minutes he was on the court early on. He looked like he was ready for it. But DeAndre tonight looked like he knew, like old man looking at it, probably going like, 35 minutes tonight. They're going to need me. Like, all right, here we go. And he just gave great effort. He had great energy, great effort, and stepped up when they needed him to.
It's that meme.
Yeah, he gets to take Tuesday off now. Like, he can relax. He can go back to he doesn't have to be too focused, I don't think, on Tuesday. I think, who knows? Maybe Yoke's not back on Tuesday.
It's that DeAndre and I was that meme of the bleep, here we go again.
Yeah.
Look, on media day, he fielded a series of questions from the core that I was harsh on the acquisition at the time. I've been harsh on DJ in general. Like, I have to be honest about where he's been in his career. But the conversation around him was basically like, are you able to move? Can you run from one end of the floor without dying? And he was understandably pretty offended by it. And tonight's a good example
I still think they're fair questions, though, man. Like, he can be offended by it. Athletes should take offense to people doubting them. That's just you should do that. But at the same time, I still think they're fair to be like, hey, how much can you give? But tonight he gave a lot. I don't expect him to give this much like twice in 1 week, to be honest with you. Like, these are, hey, we needed you tonight. He was ready. He stepped up.
That's why you have veterans.
Yep.
That's why you have veterans. We'll talk about some of the young guys, though, who I thought had good nights, including, obviously, Vlatko Cancar. We'll get to him after the break. But first, I've got to tell you about BetterHelp. So I'm not ashamed to tell you guys that I've been in therapy several times. I've done it whenever I've gone through a period of my life where there are things going on that I needed to work through, even if it wasn't like like I've had major things, but it's also just been like, I'm feeling like there's a lot going on. And I need to work out some stuff, and therapy's been really helpful for me. It's not just about acute problems. Sometimes it's just processing the stuff that you need to. This episode has been brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/code and get on your way to being your best self. Life doesn't come with a user manual, so when it's not working for you, it's normal to feel stuck. And therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills. I wrote an article a lot of years ago about my anxiety, and like, I have clinical anxiety and I've had panic attacks in locker rooms. It takes work to be able to deal with those. Those are not things that are triggered necessarily by anything. Sometimes they just happen, and I needed skills to be able to work past them. And that's where therapy's really helped. Therapy is the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people with licensed therapists. It's convenient and accessible anywhere, 100% online. You can learn a lot from therapy. I actually don't have a degree in journalism. I have a degree in psychology. That was my training, and I worked in psych labs for several years. I know a lot about not just the psychotherapy stuff, which is what everyone kind of leans to, sitting on a couch and talking. And I think there's value to that. But there's also stuff that's cognitive therapy. You can research and find those things at BetterHelp that are just mechanisms to help you get through your day. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists, available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. And if things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It just couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Big deal here. Don't like therapist waiting rooms. I'm always super nervous in waiting rooms. So this is one reason why it's great. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Joe says, nothing cute about problems, Matt. I meant acute versus chronic. That's the difference I was aiming for there, just to be clear. Not trying to patronize anyone's problems, though I am a very patronizing human being, unfortunately. All right, Adam, I will not be patronizing as I talk about Vlatko Cancar and the contributions that he made. Do you want to talk about the shot, or do you want to talk about the other stuff and then the shot? What do you want to talk about?
Talk about the shot first, and then we can get to the other stuff.
Okay, so if you missed it, weird events. All right, Luka hits a three, but he was out of bounds. They review it, find that he was out of bounds. So they decide that they're going to give the Nuggets, the rules state that the Nuggets are going to get the ball out of bounds in the backcourt with 2 seconds left before halftime. And they have to do that after halftime because they already sent the guys back to the locker room. So they play that out, and Vlatko, who has worked on this shot, who told Mike Singer he works on this shot, who everyone has talked about how he works on that shot. I remember guys talking about Vlatko working on that shot this year. I don't remember the context, but I remember it. Drains it.
Yeah.
The Nuggets literally won by that difference. Like that, every shot can be determined to be the difference, but that's a low probability outcome that he has specifically worked to try and develop that he managed to convert. Like, that's why you work on stuff, even if it's low percentage, because you might have an opportunity where you need to be able to make that shot. And if you can convert it just this one time, it really can be a difference. absolutely phenomenal. What a moment for Vlatko.
Yeah, that was all. Like, I know you were saying something about that. That was, I mean, a lucky play, or why didn't they do something better? And it was a lucky play. Like, I mean, even if you're good at half court shots, it's still lucky when you hit them. Like, you're still going to not hit them that often. But I thought it was a cool moment that Malone subbed him in for that specific play, and basically said, "Hey, he's our guy for these moments." I thought it's hilarious. Do you get a bullet like that again, Matt? Like, if you're in a situation where you can sub him back in with 2 seconds left, does everybody go like, "Hey, they're going to Vlatko"? They're going this guy in because he's the half court guy.
It depends on who's guarding him, right?
Yeah.
Like if the defender's done his homework and he's actually paid attention, because half these guys don't pay attention to what goes on in the league. But some defenders will actually be like, "Well, yeah, no, I actually saw that game and saw that shot and remembered seeing it online or whatever, and I knew it was a deal." So like they might guard him, but most of the time, no, like they'll let him shoot. I mean,
here's the bigger story. You know who had a really bad night tonight? A really bad night?
Who?
Christian Wood.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that had to do with Vlatko Cancar and his defense tonight on him. And some of this is obviously just Denver and being a little bit more prepared. I mean, they got murdered by the Luka Christian Wood pick and roll in the first game on Friday. Yeah. Tonight, Vlatko drew that assignment a lot, and he just generated steals, kept him out of the paint, just kept him away. This made him a non-factor. I mean, Christian Wood finishes the night with 17 minutes and 5 points. Yeah. That's pretty wild for given how dominant he was in the previous matchup 2 days ago.
They were really into him. Another guy that I want to give a lot of credit to is Zeke Nnaji, who I thought gave really good minutes in this game. I think like he finished some shots off of the cut. He finished in a lot of good spots. The 3-pointer was obviously big. The defense, just the versatility and being able to hang with guys, stuff that you've often lauded him about. This was I think a very big. This was a game of a very validating game for your position on both Vlatko and Zeke, Adam.
I mean, it was a good one. They got an opportunity. I don't know if it's funny because who played well tonight? DeAndre Jordan, Zeke Nnaji, and Vlatko Cancar. So what have we learned? Like, does that mean you make a change anywhere? Like, no, they all played well tonight in minutes, and they played well in different ways. So Well, hold on. It is meaningful, though. I just want to get here because I think Zeke had a very good game tonight. He was a +6. He did not grab a rebound again. 16 minutes with no rebound, but it's just noteworthy. Even though it didn't hurt them tonight, I don't think there's any complaints about it, but it's just noteworthy.
He says he's a 4. What do we make it like? That to me might be the takeaway here, right? Especially like with the rebounding thing. They
played him with Vlatko tonight, and Vlatko was guarding the bigger player. So
yeah, that's fair. I think there's something to. I think the idea though that Zeke is just better suited as a 4, right? I think that's just like. I just think you do or don't.
I do agree. Like because the thing that's tough with Zeke Nnaji, he's very, very skilled, but he's not that athletic. Like he's just not that tall. He's not that long. We saw this with Sims in the Knicks game where I thought Vlatko was doing all the right things. He just couldn't physically match up with him.
Yeah, and I think like he's tried to add a lot of muscle. Like we all talked about like how much bigger he's looked, and he does. Like he looks bigger, and that's big. That's a good thing. But also there's a certain amount of this that just gets into he needs what's the term I'm going to try and use here? The core strength that comes as you get older, like into your late 20s, early 30s. Like
maybe
that I think there's something missing from his core in that respect. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. I just kind of look at him and I go, I do like the idea of him as a 4 a lot. And I think honestly, a lot of this is there's been a little bit too much of a tie of like Malone is very set in the idea of Jeff Green as a 4-5, and they've kind of shied away. Like I like the idea of Jeff and Zeke and DeAndre honestly a little bit together. I don't know that the spacing would be god awful there because of what Zeke brings to the table. You're nodding your head, so maybe not. Maybe or shaking your head.
I honestly just don't know. Like Zeke's the tough part about him is I don't think he's a 3 either. In fact, I think he's more of a 5 than he is a 3, and I don't think he's a 5. So, and I don't think Jeff is a 3. I just think Jeff is a 4 who can play the 5, not a 3 though. So it's just tough because those 3 pieces to me don't match up. Like you're eventually probably going to have to pick one. Maybe you'll go to like a rotating what's the matchup or here or there, but I just don't see it. And that's part of the hard part that's part of the difficulty with Zeke. Is that he is kind of, I think, a little bit more narrow in what he can and can't do. But he did hit a 3 tonight. That was meaningful.
Yeah. I mean, he needs to, like, that's going to have to be a component of his play. And it felt like they were looking to try and find him that in a couple of spots. They also were trying that, like, Bones was definitely trying to find MPJ on some of those. I want to talk about MPJ's game in the last segment. I want to ask you here about Bruce Brown, because Bruce Brown had to do a lot. Like, this is a lot. This is a lot to ask of Bruce Brown. And he plays 35 minutes. He scores 12 points on 5 of 13 shooting, but he has 4 boards, 8 assists, and just 2 turnovers. Yep. And so you said you felt like Brown played great tonight.
I do. I mean, like, here's the thing. Him and Bones both 5 of 13 for Brown, 10 of 21 from Bones. Both of them shot poorly. Guess what? The Nuggets were missing their offensive players. Like, you're moving guys into high usage roles, and they're not going to shoot effectively. This was not is it going to be pretty? Are you going to do the right thing every single time and get something good? No, it was like, you got to put your head down and make something of this. So Bruce tonight played fantastic defense. He had that great block on Luka Doncic, which is, I don't think people have really fully can appreciate the size mismatch he has against Luka Doncic. Like, he's so undersized. And the fact that he blocked him at the rim one-on-one just shows you how much he battled in this one. And then the 8 assists. It's funny because I thought Bones had a great game. We haven't talked about him either. I'm sure we'll get to him here in a little bit. But I thought Bones had a great game. I still almost like when the ball is in Bruce's hands more to initiate the offense. Meaning, I just like when he has the ball first and then you get it to Bones. And late in the game, they actually went to that, a handful of times. And I just felt like those plays almost always went a little bit better than when it was the other way around.
Tonight, in the 13 matchups that Bruce Brown had on Luka in, like, terms of direct usage, where Luka was trying to attack, Luka only scored 8 points. He had 8 points and 2 assists on 13 matchups. That's great for Luka's
That's insane for as good as Luka is. That's insane.
Well, and here's the bigger one. Bruce defended him for 37 total matchups tonight, and Luka scored 8 points on him.
That's insane. I mean, Luka, part of this was on Luka, who I really think, like, Luka did not bring his A game tonight. He sure looked like a guy that thought he could win this one in his sleep. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, he can't. But tonight he didn't and missed some shots. What was the Christian Brown numbers? And I'm curious your Christian Brown take, because I thought as a rookie, 15 games into his NBA career, drawing the Luka assignment and not looking out of place to me is, like, really big.
11 matchups, 4 direct tonight, 6 points total, 1 shot. So he fouled him. He drew some fouls on Brown, which makes some sense, but he did force a turnover. So pretty good there. And just in terms, and I thought they did a good job of honestly deterring him from shooting is the biggest thing. It's just like being a physical defender and making it not worth it, because kind of like you mentioned, the Mavs definitely were in like a second game of the homestand, like just destroyed these guys. They got nobody. Like, we already, one of the impressive things is, usually if you're going to sneak up on a team like this, you do it in the first one. And so,
right.
Losing the first one and then coming back. And that's not anecdotal. I'm telling you, I've done the numbers on this. Like, you lose the first one, you usually lose the second one.
I'm telling you, though, Matt, the Nuggets got manhandled so bad in the last one that it almost, I think, created a false sense of security or something tonight. Like, maybe that's the thing, is when you beat a team by 30, you should be extra prepared for the next one, because I just thought Dallas came out very relaxed.
They rope-a-doped them. That's what you got to say here, Adam. They rope-a-doped them.
That's right.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about Bones, and we'll wrap up our conversation on the Nuggets win over the Mavericks. We'll do that when we come back. But first, I need to tell you about PrizePicks. Daily fantasy made easy. PrizePicks is absolutely phenomenal. Play I've been making pretty consistently is Steph Curry over on fantasy points. It's just pretty automatic because he's rebounding like mad this season. This is one of the best Steph seasons I've ever seen. This is just one of the best Steph seasons ever. And that says something, considering he is a 2-time MVP and has been on arguably the greatest team of all time. In PrizePicks, you just pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, and you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. You're not competing against other people. That's insane, and it gets really tough. Some people are obsessive about this stuff. It's just you versus the projections available. They offer projections on any sport you watch: NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, all of them. World Cup. Can't forget about World Cup as well. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy, safe, and fast withdrawals, and they're currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up today and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100, and if you put in $50, they'll give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us and joining us. If you do want to support the show, best way is to join the YouTube channel and check out. You can join the live show when we post. Programming note: going to be a weird week. I'm traveling tomorrow.
That's why we're doing the show tonight.
Back to my homeland of the Ozarks. So we'll see how the internet goes out in the boonies. Do you realize that I've come from Arkansas and the county I'm from is literally Boone? I literally come from Boone County, Arkansas.
You come from the literal boonies.
I literally come from the boonies. But so I don't know what the schedule is going to be like this week with family and everything, but we'll obviously have shows throughout the week and recaps and everything. Kind of bear with us as we get through the holiday season. Hope you guys have a safe and happy holiday, by the way. Make sure that you are safe this holiday season. And if you can, if like you're going to the airport on Monday and thinking, if you're like listening to this and you're thinking about going to the airport, don't. So there's less people so that I have to fight through to get to my plane. Just don't go. All right, Adam, talk to me about Bones. I have a hard time kind of getting a handle on Bones tonight from the perspective of 29 points is a lot. 21 shots is a lot. 6 assists is a lot. Minus 12 is interesting. When I watched him, I thought that he was obviously aggressive and like really kind of like he tried to ride the momentum waves, and that was something that they needed. I didn't notice that the stretches were bad, right? As far as like the plus minus would indicate, and the plus minus is, I'm not such a plus minus guy that I'm gonna be like, well, he's minus 12, so he had to have been bad. I'm not like that at all. I just don't necessarily. I guess I'll say this: I knew that he had 29, and I knew he had some huge shots. I didn't necessarily like feel like he was the overriding like biggest narrative from the game for me, but that may have just been like, I need to go back and do a deeper rewatch. What were your thoughts on Bones from this game?
I mean, I thought he was very good. I've said this all along with Bones, that second unit, more often than not, has had something about them that just hasn't made sense. And I think you look at it like Vlatko Cancar, not going to generate shots, like not a guy that's even going to finish shots, other than maybe some wide open ones or whatever. Zeke Naji, same thing. He's not generating things. There's no Zeke Naji play. Davon Reed, Christian Brown. So to me, he's in a lineup that needs him to be like overly aggressive. And when it looks bad, it's going to look really bad. But tonight, it didn't look bad. He carried what I thought was a difficult situation as well as you can expect, especially from a second-year player. And I thought he had some great finishes at the rim that are very important for him. I thought he did a very good job of getting off ball when they gave him the two defenders. I mean, this is how difficult I think that second unit was. Dallas just overloaded every pick and roll. They just said, we're sending two at him. Even if he goes tries to run away from it, we're just going to send two guys and trust that Denver's not going to score when he gets the ball out of his hands and attacks 4-on-3. And to be honest with you, they were right. Denver only had 98 points tonight. Bones Hyland had 29 of the 98 points. He had a third of the points in tonight's game, basically. So I thought he actually did a great job, even though I agree with you that like the ball's sticky with him. And, some of it is like there wasn't a whole lot spiraling off it. Tonight, Denver just needed him to score points.
Yeah.
I think they just needed him to get some. I mean, look at it. We're talking about all these guys that had points. The second leading scorer was what?
Yeah.
14 and Michael Porter?
That's a great point. Kind of an early 2000s type of game, right? Nobody can hit anything. The balls kind of stick in because there's not a lot of shot creation. And in those games, you had these kind of performances like a lot from guys, but you needed it. Like sometimes it's not going to be efficient. Sometimes it's not going to be pretty. And you need guys that can just kind of get it done with the production. And that's what he was able to do tonight. He deserves as much credit for the win as anybody.
No question. I don't think you can judge him like regularly you would judge him, because I think if you had more offense around him, you could be upset that the ball was sticky and that he did this or that. But that was not the case. They needed him to be a little bit of a street ball scorer tonight, and he did a phenomenal job of that.
I love Michael Porter Jr.'s game tonight.
Wow, that's a shocker. This one's a real shocker.
I like that he got to the mid-range. I like that he
didn't
just,
you know what? I agree with that.
He didn't just throw the threes up, that he actively sought to get to spots.
I agree.
They worked to let him, like he worked to take the isolation.
I
kind of amused that on the game winner, he wasn't expecting the pass. Did you notice that?
Of course. I mean, of course.
He was like, "Oh, I guess I'm shooting this."
He like segued from like, "Oh crap. All right, I'll shoot. I'll just shoot, take, and make a game winner." No, I love your note. I don't think Michael Porter had a very good night tonight. I thought it was a continuation of his trend, but I do like your note. He was not playing well on the heels of 2 straight bad games. So this would have been 3 straight bad games. And in the second half, at key moments, he did, it seemed, make a conscious effort of, I'm not going to just stand and try to shoot threes or do my sidestep or step back, which is his comfort zone. And instead, he went forward to the basket, got to the mid-range, made a couple, and I thought that took him out of what was a slump. Like that was how he kind of broke out of this funk that he was in, just enough and at just the right time to kind of find his shooting stroke, and then of course hit the biggest shot of the night, which was the game winner.
Part of this is that 1 of 5 from 3. So he shoots 6 of 11 from the field, but he's 1 of 5 from 3. Do I look at his 3-point shots and like, I don't know how, again, this has always been my challenge with MPJ. I don't know how to evaluate if those are good or bad shots. I don't know what a bad shot for MPJ looks like. I don't know what it looks like.
But you are right that for most of when we're watching him, I'm shocked when he misses. Yep. Over the last few games, I haven't been. Like, I've almost expected it. And so that's why I thought it was good for him to change it up tonight and get to a spot that was different, a little bit easier, kind of recatch his rhythm.
What didn't you like about his game tonight?
I mean, again, early on, he just seemed out of rhythm, frazzled. And then he has these things that he does where he takes a long 3, and if he doesn't hit it, he gets beat back in transition. And that happened at crucial time. I think it happened twice tonight in moments where you're like, again, there's a difference between you're not a good defender and you get guys aren't afraid of you and they get a contested shot over you or whatever, and they hit it because they're not afraid of you, and you give up a wide open dunk. There was one play in particular to Powell tonight where he didn't run back on defense. Then he stops for no reason while Powell goes to the basket and dunks it. There were a couple pick and roll plays tonight, or actually not pick and roll plays, where he was the next rotation guy. And if you go back and watch, even if you just watch the quick highlights of this game that NBA drops, multiple times you see Bruce Brown screaming at him like, dude, you're the guy that rotates over on those. It was the Davis Bertans run, actually, when Bertans was going off 2 in a row, and they were both him on the exact same action. And you finally see Bruce freak out and be like, dude, we're trapping Luka. You come over at that moment. This is how this works. And he just wasn't seeing it.
That's all. You're right on the. I'm gonna go back and look at those rotation plays and check those out. You're right about the transition stuff. I don't know what the solution for that is, other than don't care about whether you make the shot or not. Just get back. Like,
it's just experience, honestly. Like, I think he's in his head. He's thinking about a lot of different things. You can tell he was frustrated, and that's why I don't want to be harsh on him. They won the game, and I do think it's one of those things where it's encouraging to me that he made an adjustment to get into the mid range and to get different shots and kept going. Like, that's all you can ask for, in my opinion. Michael Porter has done a lot of things that you say are all you can ask for. Like, when he's playing with Jokic, limiting some of the bad shots and playing within the system, like he's doing that. And then tonight, does he still make mistakes that drive you, and in particular, Michael Malone, mad? Absolutely. But like I said, just the willingness to be like trying to learn these things. You hope that over time it's going to start clicking more and more for him.
I continue to be surprisingly, in my case, sympathetic to him from the perspective of, I still, when I watch him, I feel like it's a guy that, because like Joker makes him look good and Jamal at least drives attention. I don't think Jamal makes him look good, but Jamal drives attention. He's under a microscope now, and he has to do a lot, but do it in a low mistake way. And to me, that feels very connected, and it may just be like we talked about the Indiana stuff, right? Like he's just in the down spot, whatever. We don't know. The athletes are humans; they go through things. But from the context of where he's at, I still feel, and this is what's crazy, is like he made $100 million in contract money. Like he's set. He's
170,
good.
but yeah,
170 million, and he still sometimes plays like a player who's worried he's going to lose minutes.
I think I'll give this. This is my read on that specific thing. I think he wants to be great. Like, I think he really does care about basketball and wants to be great. And, some of this stuff is just, I think, a little tough for him or this or that. And he's really hard on himself and all these different things. But, I mean, look, those are the bad things. Like, the bad things stick out to me because I almost like look at it the way I think Michael Malone does, where I just get so bothered by mistakes. Like, mistakes, just drive me nuts. But this was a game in which, even when he was struggling, he did get to his spots in the second half and hit some very, very, very big ones. And then he hit the biggest shot of the night, which was a game winner, which just reminds you of how talented he is. Tonight's game winner did remind you of the one that happened in the bubble against the Clippers, which, by the way, was a swing shot that helped them win that series. It was one of those ones where it was like, it wasn't smooth. The pass came, he wasn't ready, this or that, and yet he still can. It's not every player can do that, where you're not in rhythm, you're off or whatever, and just say, you know what, doesn't matter. I'm a great shooter, and I'm going to knock this one down. And that's what he did.
All right, so they get through the Mavs set 1-1. That's helpful. That's a big help. Pistons are next.
Yep. Pistons are horrible right now. They've lost 7 in a row.
They hung with the Kings tonight, who have been very good. I know that they're the Kings, but they did hang with them. That is the Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday.
Yep.
So Nuggets get a day off before that one.
A little back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, too.
Okay, everyone's asking in the comments we should talk about it. People are wondering when Joker's going to be back, and Jamal and Aaron. Aaron, I would admit, I would probably expect next game. Does that sound right to you?
I think Jokic too. I mean, I would expect Jokic as well.
Is he out?
You never know. There's been no word on this. You're just kind of looking at, well, Bones missed this much, and most of them, but.
Is he out of H&S?
I don't know. I don't know if we know.
So here's my take on that. Maybe Joker's an exception because he's an exception to most things in the universe. But most players, when they get out of H&S, they give them at least one game, if not two, for conditioning because they've been quarantined. So they want to work them out.
I don't know. Is that true? Bones didn't. Bones got out of quarantine and went right to the game. He flew, flew right in and played.
Okay. I'm telling you that, this happened with Boston. This happened, Alex Caruso last year was a good example of this. If you go back and look, there's a lot of them that H&S conditioning is listed as their reason for being out. So maybe not. Maybe the protocols are different. That's also something I'm not sure. I'm just basing it off of the league standard, but you're right that Bones didn't. So maybe not. So,
yeah. I mean, they do have a back-to-back. It will be interesting to see how they handle this because there is always a chance that you don't want to play with fire. But, if you got a rested Jokic, he doesn't play Tuesday, and then he comes back Wednesday to help you get a road win. Maybe that's the thing that happens as well.
Okay, let's go wrap it up for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys joining us. Hope you guys have a great week and a great Thanksgiving. We'll have shows for you throughout the week. Just make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel to catch us live. Give us those 5-star reviews. Appreciate it. Enjoy the week. Good start with Optimism Monday coming off this win. And we'll catch you guys again next time.